strong player. Looks like perhaps going to be playing the Dutch civilization. TPHB has China currently selected. We'll see if he here we go, game number 1. Mitoe going to be playing the Dutch civilization, TPHB. That's going to be a tricky for me to say. I'm going to say something goofy at some point when I try and pronounce those letters. TPHB. I don't think it spells anything, does it? Tivba, Tivba, Tivba. I don't know. Tif. I think that's how you would pronounce it in the English language. I'm not up with all the hip young vernacular, but I believe that is not a word in the English language. But spawning down here in the south side of the map, playing the Chinese civilization, and the color red is Tif. And his opponent spawning in the north side of the map, in the color teal or cyan, is Mitoe. Map is, of course, Arizona, using this pretty painted desert tile set. And here we go, game underway. Game number 1 between these two players. Turn on some of the interesting stuff. And here we go. Dutch, of course, needing their coin to be able to train villagers. And do immediately gather up those coin crates and get a villager in queue. And we'll see what China has in store for us. See if he has any sort of maybe a tricky agenda up his sleeve. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Oftentimes when you're tasked with playing against a player who you consider to be much better than yourself, this isn't a knock on TPHB, right? I mean, maybe he's a newer player to the game. Certainly when you're playing against someone who is a little bit better than you, sometimes it's fun to try and get a cheeky win by doing some sort of goofy all-in rush or something like that. I still remember to this day, and I still bring it up to Victor Sui, probably a couple times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, and this will have to be one of them because it made me think of it. The time that Victor Sui played Dutch against a PR13 player, his Ottoman, in a tournament. I don't remember what the tournament was even, but Vic lost to a PR13 Jan Rush, and to this day has not been able to live it down. He was trying to be too cute with his play, trying to do a mercenary FI or something like that, and the PR13 plopped 2 Raxes in the middle of the map, right outside his base, pooled about 20 Janissaries. Vic didn't scout it, and just ran into his base in circle siege, just TC down before the FI even got close to completing. And Vic had to resign, and he ended up winning, I think, 2 games to 1 or something in the best of 3 because he lost to this PR13's Jan Rush. So I've seen it all. We could perhaps see it again. Some sort of cheeky play here out of what most would consider to be a fairly high discrepancy between player skill levels. So we'll see whether or not that happens. China doesn't have quite the all-in potential that a civilization like Ottoman perhaps does, but we could see it. Let's all give a Bible thump in chat for Victor Sui and his poor reputation that was ever so hurt that day. Vic took it all in stride. We love to give him crap about it, even to this day. And if he's watching in chat, which I hope he is, I dearly hope Vic's in chat to hear me tell that story, because it is one of my fondest memories of Age of Empires 3. Victor Sui losing to the PR13 Jan Rush. But what do we got going on in this game? Looks like Mitoe has aged up, doing so in the ever popular 15 pop age up with the Dutch civilization. Going to begin chopping his wood for his bank. And over here, it looks like fairly standard play coming out of TPHB. Has his 2 villages down. Take a look at his cards. Has sent northern refugees and is plopping down his summer palace right now. Going to be, looks like he's just going to be FFing. A couple villagers heading over to coin, and certainly, I mean, that's a very strong build. He can execute it efficiently. You never know, maybe doesn't need to worry about the differences in skill. Maybe he can rely on the strength of the Chinese FF to pull him through. But Mitoe just going to be playing standard, has that bank up. Is now aged up with quartermaster politician. I think we'll see probably a pretty greedy economic build coming out of him. Wouldn't be too surprised to see 700 wood coming in as his first card. Indeed, going to be building bank number 2 here as well. And I think we'll see 700 wood coming up as his next card here. And just going to be doing very strong, maybe 4, maybe even 5 bank FF. As you are allowed to make up to 6 banks with the Dutch civilization now, before being required to ship a card to be able to train extras. And there does come the 700 wood. Similarly, over here, once TPHB does get aged up, I think it's fairly safe to assume we'll see a 700 coin shipment drop from him, followed by probably 700 wood as well. And just do normal age ups. In general, market coming down from Mitoe, very economic play coming out of him right now. Also has a pretty good structure here to the front of his base, keeping everything pretty safe, pretty well protected, and as a result, going to end up with a nice sturdy base build here. Is going to be making a stable, interestingly enough, out of that 700 wood. We'll see what else comes out of that 700 wood. Looks like just houses at this point. Nothing too precarious going to be coming. Probably going to be sending 600 wood as his next shipment, following this up to train those additional 2 banks, and maybe just try and apply a little bit of pressure with those Hussar. Take a look at the military units in queue. We do see that first batch of Hussar coming out. 700 coin has been shipped and is currently being gathered up by TPHB, the Chinese player. And he is going to fairly quickly have the resources needed to age up. And we can see his hunts are a little exposed here, which may be slightly problematic when these first Hussar hit the floor. We can see bank wagon has been sent, is going to be aging up now with that, or is going to be rather building that bank wagon. And now resources have been gathered for TPHB, does have the ability to age up. It looks like his porcelain tower has been dropped, but as I mentioned, some exposed villagers here. We got a couple of villagers over here a little bit exposed. These 2 villagers here. Oh, this guy looks like he's wearing a different colored coat because he's like stuck inside the bison. That's kind of cool. He's wearing like an orange coat because he's like deep in the bison. Villager dies over there. We'll see how many villagers end up dying as a result of this raid. 1 has already been sacrificed. Sentry call coming out here. Second villager going down. Looks like Mitoe's going to scoot down out. Try and keep as many of his cavalry alive as possible. Begins harassing another villager over here. Looks like he's going to be able to pick up 1 more villager kill for this cost. Coming over here to harass the Wonder as well. And looks like he's going to be begin harassing some more villagers. That 1 villager does get away on fairly low HP. Looks like that villager is well going to get away on fairly low HP. But Mitoe continuing to ramp up the pressure here, continuing to apply as much pressure as he possibly can. And behind all of this, well, let's see if he's aging up behind all this. Not just yet. Does have almost the resources to age, though, and we'll be able to age here fairly soon. 1 more villager going to bite the dust here. The units from the Summer Palace are out. They're going to be picked up accordingly as well. The 2 step riders do fall down. The 3 Chukanu are going to die as well. 700 wood has been sent and gathered. just to point out by the Chinese player here. So he does have his structure coming up. Consulate being built currently, has the War Academy up as well. There are a couple of very low HP villagers here as well that Mitoe could potentially take a look at. Looks like they're going to get away for the time being. But it looks like these villagers building the consulate going to get caught out a little bit. One more villager going down. Perhaps another one going to be taking some damage as well. But when all is said and done, look at the economic unit population. Very heavily in favor of Mitoe at this current time. Has 4 banks, has very good market upgrades, has up to steel traps already researched. And, well, it looks like he's even just going to drop down a 5th bank here. His economy is getting wildly out of control. And TPHB is going to have to do something very, very soon to deal with this massive economy the Dutch player has currently built himself, just due to the fact that he took a lot of rating pressure. Did get aged up, is going to be aged up for a little bit of time here before Mitoe, as he now hits the Fortress Age, and well, it already feels like his window is kind of closing here. Took a lot of damage. His age up got slowed down quite a bit by that rating pressure, and now the Dutch player with his 5 banks going to be building a second stable, and the Reuter spam, the veteran Hussar spam, is going to be very difficult to deal with. And with this very strong economy that the Dutch has built himself, I don't know what exactly the Chinese player is going to be able to do at this point in the game. We can see he has a couple of redcoats out from intervention. His first batch of Forbidden Army has been trained as well, but I don't know if that alone is going to be enough to deal with the impending spam. Certainly, he needs to do something sooner rather than later, just due to the fact that if he allows this economic differential to continue to grow like this, Mitoe is going to have just an absolutely huge amount of units available to him. Looks like a batch of Territorial Army in queue, a huge batch of Reuters coming out here as well from both of these stables. And very soon, the 2 barracks will be completed, and we'll have even more military units to deal with. The 6th and final bank in production for Mitoe here as well. And let's flip over to the military unit tab, because that's going to be the important thing. And unfortunately, I think TPHB has kind of missed his timing window. It needed to hit sooner rather than later, and I don't think it's going to be here in time, honestly. It's too late at this point in the game. But well, I don't know. I've seen crazy things. When I say I've seen it all, I've watched H2O double click on his villagers thinking they were llamas and press the delete key during the tournament. I've seen Victor Sweet lose to a PR13 Jan Rush, so I've seen it all. Maybe today will be the day we'll add another log to that diary of crazy things you've seen in Age of Empires 3, where maybe Mitoe like double clicks his bank and deletes all of his banks or something like that. Stranger things have happened, but looking very difficult for TPHB at this point. It does have a pretty nice military unit population going for himself currently, but if we take a look at the economic units behind this, once the fighting actually starts to happen, going to have a very difficult time reinforcing as strongly as the Dutch player is going to be. And it looks like Mitoe, keen for a fight here, starting to step his way forward. And maybe we'll see the first of our little engagements here. Villager, noticing the army impending, coming towards him, is going to be forced to back off from this village location. Skirmishers stepping their way forward to try and get into a position where maybe they can do a little bit of poking for both sides. But it looks like that village is going to be sacrificed here for the time being. A couple units exchanging a little bit of fire. 2 skirmishers are going to go down for TPHB. And Mitoe going to siege down that first village and back off with that little bit of a victory. Perhaps waiting for one more card, maybe waiting for something like Cav Combat or his veterancy to finish. Yeah, we've got Vet Hussar currently finishing, and I think when we see that veterancy upgrade finish for Mitoe, that will be his time to make his little time and push in. Did notice that there was quite a bit of skirmisher action from his opponent, and maybe wants just to have a little bit of time to be able to buff those up. Text being researched, that upgrade is nearly done. Veteran Hussars is now on the ground, and I would be very surprised to not see Mitoe happily engage this fight as a result of that tech finishing. Cover mode scout, unfortunately, being kind of a detriment to these units as they try and run back and forth. Try not to group him up with all of your skirmishers, because although the monk in cover mode is very good, getting a lot of free shots off his Mitoe with his skirmishers. Here comes the big engagement. Cavalry doing a pretty good job of cleaning up everything and providing a meat shield up front. Lots and lots of veteran skirmishers in the back. The monk has been dealt with. The remaining units are going to be equally dealt with fairly easily. And I think at this point it's a fairly one-sided fight and fairly clear who's going to end up winning this game as a result of this fight. Well, I guess this is a little preemptive. We can set that score back to actually reflect what the true score is. Of course not. Play it out. We play tournaments for fun, right? It's up to you. If you don't want to play, you don't have to. We play tournaments for fun. Mitoe, of course, realizing that as well. Realistically, everyone who enters the tournament is destined to lose, save for one person. That's the nature of tournaments. That's how they work. Everyone is going to lose, except for one guy. And to that point, there's no such thing as wasting anyone's time. If you're playing a tournament and you're having fun, you're going to end up losing just like everyone else in the tournament except for that one person who ends up winning. So never a waste of time. Gonna grab a quick drink while the civs are being selected. Map number 2 gonna be Hudson Bay. Alright, Mitoe selecting his civilization currently. Spain going to be the choice for Mitoe. Ooh, Japan. Alright, this guy knows. TPHB knows. Oh, Aztec, alright. I was hoping he would play Japan. Alright, game number 2. I see some confusion in chat happening right now about why this matchup is occurring in the round of 32. By no fault of TPHB, his opponent before him was King Onaged, who quit the tournament. Perhaps this matchup would have been King Onaged versus Mitoe, which I think most people would agree. Probably would have been a little bit more exciting. But King Onaged, for personal reasons, dropped out of the tournament, and TPHB advanced on in his stead. Here we go, game number 2, launching in. Playing in the color blue, maybe just switching it up. Needs a different color. That was the sticking point last game. Playing the Aztec civilization is TPHB, or as I fondly called him last game. I wonder what TPHB stands for. The pretty horse barn? The pretty horse barn, maybe. Perhaps. But his opponent, spawning on the left side of the name, is Mitoe. Mitoe's got a kind of a fun story with his name that he told me once. For people who don't know, Mitoe's first name is Michael. And I don't remember if it was his little brother or a cousin, some family member, when they were very young, was trying to say his name, and they mispronounced Michael as Mitoe because they couldn't enunciate all of the letters of Michael's name correctly. And as such, when he was choosing his name for games, he has selected that ever since, Mitoe. So it's kind of a fun, cute little story with his name. But he's going to be playing the Spain civilization in the color teal. And we'll see what TPHB's got in store for us. He's got the build done. He's got himself a market. He's got a fire pit and a house. See if he gets that hunting dog's tech. He's already got it. Like, he's good. He's golden, man. He knows. And we'll see what Mitoe does as a result of that. 3 vills coming out as his first card. On par for the course. Nothing too strange there. We'll see whether or not Mitoe does anything aggressive. Maybe does some sort of heavy infantry rush. Rottleiros, I think, do surprisingly well against Aztec. Their extra speed helps them keep up with the Coyote runners fairly nice. They also do decently against Pumas, just because, I mean, they have melee resistance. They do okay against all pike type units. So we'll see, maybe some sort of rod rush or rod semi-FF or something like that coming out of Mitoe. Has now clicked up, transitioning villagers over to wood, perhaps for another maybe another trading post or something like that. Interesting to note, kind of one of Spain's Achilles heels. They don't really have that great of age-up politicians. They don't have the quartermaster politician specifically, which is the 400 wood politician that a lot of other European civilizations have. Similarly, they also don't have the exiled prince politician when going to the third age, which is the fast aging politician, which makes their semi-FF options a little bit weaker, and kind of makes it so that if you're going to FF, you kind of have to straight FF with them. So we'll see whether or not an FF is in store. It looks like maybe colonial play based on his current villager split. Let's see what he's aging up with. Aging up with the philosopher prince. Maybe some sort of archaic rush or something like that. Don't see any villagers currently going forward or anything, but it could perhaps be some sort of archaic rush. TPHB aging up now with what looks to be 16 population age up with the messenger politician. And well, now Mito's got all of his villagers gathering coin. I'm not quite sure what he's doing here. We'll have to see. He's got himself some sort of a tricky build picked out. He's got 400 wood in bank. He's got that 500 food crate. And now he's gathering a whole ton of coin with all these villagers. Let's turn on some of this stuff so we can actually see how many villagers are on coin. Looks like it's just going to be some sort of stable opening for him. Going to be dropping down 2 houses and that stable with that aforementioned 400 wood. And it looks like TPHB going to be building that forward war hut. 700 wood coming as his first card. You do have to commend TPHB. His builds are pretty standard. Like they're oftentimes you see lower ranked players and their builds just aren't very good. And it's part of like they just haven't been a student of the game for very long. And as a result, they struggle with builds because they just don't know the builds. But TPHB, to his credit, his builds have actually been pretty good. They've been pretty standard at this point, so props to him for that. Just notice the score's not right. But Mitoe has that stable up, going to be turning Hussar out of that. And a couple Coyote runners coming out of TPHB's early war hut. Going to be poking around here, maybe trying to raid a little bit, seeing if they can't do a little bit of pressure. 5 settlers coming out of TPHB for his next card. So just going to be playing economically. And we'll see whether or not, well, it looks like he could potentially get 1 villager here. If he's paying attention, nope. Going to run by that. Hussar Arna out here as well. Going to be able to, looks like, deal with these coyotes fairly easily. And maybe, I mean, that's oftentimes kind of the disjoint between the player rankings as well, right? It's just the multitask ability can get to be a little bit burdensome for lower ranked players. Barracks coming down from Mitoe now with that 700 wood shipment. Looks like he's going to be able to just power up his economy in that way. Has this kind of nice little building wall starting to establish itself out front of his base. Excuse me. I apologize for my cold kind of taking over the stream today, but a couple more coyotes coming out. Looks like he's pulled a couple of those up. Going to try and continue to be raiding around here a little bit. Picked up himself a trading post as well with some of that extra wood. So things looking okay for him there economically. If you take a look at the economic unit population, is currently ahead and has even trading post numbers. So everything looking nice in that regard. Coyote sneaking in the backside here. Going to be looking for a little bit of a raid. Rodolero shipment coming out. Immediately going to be snaring some of those coyotes and pushing them back. More Hussar coming out here as well for Mitoe. And it looks like, well, these coyotes going to be chased down here a little bit. Hussar flanking in from the north side. Going to be able there to cut them off, divert them to an even further south trajectory and snare a couple of them. Looks like 2 more of the coyotes going to get caught. Even a 3rd one going to get picked up here. And as a result, Mitoe going to be pretty happy with that exchange. Starting to build some Rodoleros for himself now here. It looks like Rod Huss going to be the unit composition of choice, and now just going to be able to continue to push out across the map. Has this pretty nice military unit advantage. Certainly has a compositional advantage. No anti-cavalry units, no Puma Spearmen whatsoever. And this is going to be, I think, a pretty difficult hold for TPHB at this point. Villagers garrisoned in the war hut, but with more reinforcing Hussar coming here, this is going to be a fairly difficult hold at this point for TPHB. Doesn't have a ton of military units out. Perhaps going to just be forced to fight here. 6 Puma Spearmen do pop out. And it looks like the fight is going to be taking place now. The Pumas are in a pretty good spot to be able to deal with the Hussar. The Coyotes coming in, but here comes a reinforcing 8 pike shipment from Mitoe as well. Going to be able to clean up this this army with relative ease, and it looks like going to be able to take a pretty good advantage here in game number 2 as well. Realistically, I mean, a war hut coming up here in the back for TPHB, but I don't even know if that'll get up at this point. Plenty of siege potential available here for Mitoe currently, and it may just look to roll this 1 fight into into a victory. Certainly going to stop and take this trading post as he should. But then following that, if you take a look at the military unit population, 46 military unit population to 5. Economically, we're fairly bang on even, but at this point in the game, Mitoe has built himself a pretty big advantage in terms of military unit population, and moving his way forward here is going to be pretty difficult for TPHB to realistically ever clear this army. Does have that war hut up, but looks like that's going to be the next focus for Mitoe. Going to be sieging that down, and when that begins, there's going to be no structures remaining for TPHB to actually really deal with this. 10 Mace Holton shipment does get out, as well as a couple of trained Puma Spearmen as well, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Villagers hung out to dry here a little bit. He is focusing down some of the infantry, which are trying to siege down this market, but looks like it's not going to matter. Villagers, Mace Holton, everything for blue, really taking quite a toll here. Still trying to get up another war hut here, but there goes the town center delete. Game number 2 has been resigned, and Mitoe is going to take a 2-0 advantage. Guess it'd be 05, bud. We ain't done yet. Alright, game number 2 going over to Mitoe. And we'll hop into game number 3. Oh, Victor Sui is online. I hope he heard my story about him losing to the PR13 Jan Rush. For those who don't know, Victor Sui was one of the first people that I ever played Age of Empires 3 with online. We were in a clan together called DLX back in the day. First clan that PR20 Zuda was in. It was DLX. And he greatly admired the Captain Victor Sui and his incredible levels of skill. LMNOP, I think it'll be this one. Oh, man. I did mention that he was for Bank Ronin FIing. I said mercenary FI, but it was for Ronin. And apparently, just to set the record straight, let's set the record straight right now, that Vic did win game number 1 with the Disciple Rush. And he was unaware that, as Vic says, the kid can, quote, spam Jans like a true champ. So let's make sure that we're all aware of those facts. And then take into consideration that he still lost to PR13 Jan Rush. Alright, game number 3. Things are getting out of control. Getting out of control here. Behave yourself, 0-0. Portuguese is going to be the choice for Mitoe in game number 3. TPHB, oh, says he can't ready up. Probably still downloading the map. Alright, here we go. Everyone's clicked in game number 3 between Mitoe and TPHB. In this best of 5. Mitoe currently up 2-0. And what could be the decider here? Pampas Sierras. Mitoe going to be playing the Portuguese civilization, spawning on the top side of the map in the color teal. Or right up yonder. And his opponent going to be playing the red French, spawning on the south side of the map for TPHB. Ooh, gotta press the right keys, Zuda. Just wait for the game to load in. Let's lock on this scout to start with, see where that guy goes. Villager split, and we'll see what happens. Mitoe is currently up 2-0 in this best of 5. Come on, little native scout. Come on, there he goes. There he goes. Off on his way. Of course, this map does have quite a bit of cows. Non-trading post map, important to note, for both civilizations. And we'll see if we end up having ourselves any sort of little cow war. This looks like a fluky scout. This is a fluky native scout here, sprinting across the middle of the map, heading straight for your explorer. When you used to watch fluky replays, he would do this every time he played French, essentially. A lot of people will send that scout in some sort of way that helps identify their resources or something like that. No, Fluky would take his native scout and sprint it straight across the map and try and find out. Well, he wouldn't do it quite like this, where you'd start like punching your villagers, but he would look immediately for your explorer and try and find it and try and catch it and slow it down and deny it from getting any scouting done and any treasure gathering done. Which many people found to be quite annoying. Cough, cough, H2O. But looks like he's not going to see it, or if he is, ooh, intercepts. That's what I would have done too. Just delete it. To hell with it. Can't be bothered trying to get it back to the town center. But a couple llamas going to be picked up here for either side. Looks like Mitoe going to escort this one back to his base and pick up another native scout here in the middle portion of the map as well. Market has been placed down. Let's see if he's got himself hunting dogs. Yep, he does have hunting dogs already researched. Mitoe looks like going to be doing an A's 10-10 here. He's currently capped himself at 10 population. Notably, A's usually does this with a trading post, so we'll see whether or not Mitoe finds any sort of trouble with doing this style of play without a trading post. But looks like that's going to be the decision for him, and we'll see whether or not that ends up panning out for him. Currently at 10 population, has the upgrade for his Age 2 quartermaster currently being researched, and I suspect we'll see some villagers working their way for. We got ourselves an Inca rush, boys. Inca settlement coming down, and it looks like Mitoe just going to be entertaining us here in this last game. Going to be trying something a little off the wall, and well, let's remind ourselves of the mighty Victor Sui. What happens when you try and play weird strats against lower ranked players? Unless you've actually tried it before and you've actually practiced it a little bit, weird things can happen. So we'll see what happens. Looks like we're going to have ourselves some sort of Inca rush. Let's take a look at what's available in the Inca TP. We do have the Huminka, which is obviously a very strong infantry type unit. There is also another military unit, the Incan Bola Warrior, which is an infantry unit that has a little bit of splash damage associated with it. A couple techs in here as well that are likely not going to be used. Basically the thing that makes everything train a little faster. The road building, which makes all infantry move a little faster, and Inca metalworking, which actually is a pretty nice tech. Gives you 20% mine gather rate as well, so pretty nice little one there. Looks like be careful, TC. That TC is it's not building yet. Okay, where's the wagon? Oh, that's Mitoe's. Okay, duh. I was thinking it was the French one. I was like, wow, like the French player is going to be screwed if he sees that going up, but not the case. Wrong player. A little bit of a Huminka raid coming in here. Looks like they're not going to find anything explicitly. I'm going to just start sieging down a house because why not that? That is the one thing they're good at, 48 siege damage. They have very high siege potential. Going to be immediately tasked on trying to pull down that house. So we got a couple renegade CDBs sneaking off across the river there to try and run their way out. House number 1 going to be going down for our French player, and some very early aggression. Maybe Mitoe, he may just very well go straight from the TC. Looks like TC fire going to try, or CDB fire rather, going to try and do a little bit of damage to them. But all of a sudden the TC's on this clock. The barracks trying to be built, but the TC is going to be taking quite a bit of damage here. I'm not sure how many of these Huminka he can have out at any given time. Maybe he's already at the limit with 9, or perhaps just doesn't have the resources to be able to populate himself here at this current time. Looks like a couple more. He's going to start training Bola Warriors, so he must be at the limit. And it looks like maybe the town center is just going to go down here at this point in the game. It's already down to sub 2,000 hit points. With the absolute insane siege that these Huminka have, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it just go down. And at this point, the Bola is adding in. Town center is going to go down. The first 5 crossbows are out, but unfortunately for our French companion here, the town center is down, and there will be no Victor Suism today. There will be no crazy wins for the underdog player. I think this is going to do it. The town center is down. The barracks is almost certainly going to follow. The couple crossbows that did manage to get snuck on out are going to be focused down. TPHB says, LOL, why you gotta do me like that? A nice little smiley face and a pretty quick game number 3 heading over to Mitoe. TPHB, thanks for playing. Yeah, I hope that was like the other way around. We'll give this for TPHB. So when he needs a chance to like screenshot it to show his kids that he once beat Mitoe in a best of 5, he can go back to this video and take a screenshot. So I'll just leave this up for a second. Give him the opportunity to take a screenshot from the video. We'll go over here so that you can't tell like which player is like actually winning. All right. You've got your screenshot, TPHB. Okay, now we'll go back to the real score. All right, but that's going to do it. A fairly quick and decisive best of 5 decided in Mitoe's favor as a result of this match. But I think it was kind of to be expected after the forfeit of King Onaged ended up with Mitoe having to face maybe a weaker opponent than he potentially would have had to in the in this best of 5. So that's going to do it. If you can't tell